Better Rules, Better Outcomes is a New Zealand initiative that will enhance the way our government develops and implements regulatory systems and has attracted a lot of international attention. Rules govern the way we behave and operate. The rules are set out in legislation, which consists of Acts of Parliament and regulations. Simply put, Better Rules produces legislation in a digital format. That is, having particular types of legislation available in a code or code-like form that software can understand and interact with. This is particularly valuable for situations with rules for things like calculations, eligibility criteria for a benefit, and financial reporting obligations. Better Rules, Better Outcomes complements and enhances the current policy development process. Over the last decade, we have seen a significant advance in software and digital technologies. More and more, we interact with legislation through our digital devices and systems that work out our entitlements and obligations when interacting with government. Digital devices and systems assist us to apply for the correct things and help ensure we don't miss a payment or fail to meet our compliance requirements. The difficulty with legislation is that it is not written in a language that our digital devices and systems can understand. Currently, for legislation to be used by a device or digital system, humans need to translate and rewrite the legislation into software languages. Incorrect translation is a high risk for everyone. Consider the Holidays Act, for example. The policy intent is for employees to have 4 weeks of paid leave each year. It can be really difficult for business owners to calculate accurate pay for employees working different hours and days each week. This is usually managed via payroll systems operated through software. Dozens of businesses produce those payroll systems, and each is independently translating the Holidays Act legislation into software. A government report in 2016 showed that more than 24,000 people in the public and private sector had been underpaid since 2012. There are a number of reasons why this happened. A key reason is that legislation wasn't designed to be implemented through payroll software. It is also not clear how annual leave and pay should be calculated for employees working different hours and days each week. As a result, leave and pay entitlements can't be calculated in accordance with the Holidays Act in a number of situations. So what if legislation could be developed in English words and software code right from the start during the policy development process? Better Rules is a methodology that enables us to produce better logic expressed as concept model, decision trees, and rule statements. Together, these create a blueprint of the legislation, which then set out the rules of a regulatory system. Using the blueprint, we can write legislation in any language, for example, English words and software code. That software code can then easily be used in our devices and systems to assist people and businesses to understand, benefit from, and comply with legislation. The Better Rules approach involves working in a multidisciplinary team using human-centred design techniques, bringing together all of the people invested in developing and implementing a regulatory system: the policy analysts, the lawyers, the legislative drafters, the service designers, the software engineers, end users, and more. Together, they design the overall regulatory system to ensure it focuses on the needs of the end users of that system. Meeting those needs is the central focus of the design approach. The whole regulatory system is taken into consideration before any legislation is written. With the software code, we can test the overall legislative framework to identify gaps in the logic and the rules. And testing reduces the risk of regulatory failure. It enables the public service to respond to a fast-changing world where technology-driven changes are reshaping the world we know. The policy-making process becomes more agile and responsive to the needs of citizens. We avoid translation risks by developing in 2 languages from the beginning. The software code is made publicly available, reducing duplication of effort and reducing the translation risk. This is what Better Rules is all about. So, who benefits? Those who create regulatory systems, those who interpret them, and those who experience them. Better Rules is a collaboration between multiple New Zealand government agencies, including Better for Business within MB, DIA, Inland Revenue, and the Parliamentary Council Office as major contributors of skills, insights, and experience. In essence, Better Rules is about reimagining the way we develop and express the rules of regulatory systems, ensuring they work for us in a digital world. And remember, the rules of our regulatory systems are still developed by humans for humans. There are a number of resources available to support you to better understand better rules. So don't get left behind. Get on board for better outcomes. Visit betterrules.govt.nz to find out more.